Hello, you're watching Spotlight Growth, a program that showcases emerging global growth investments and their innovative leadership. I'm your host, Leyla Gulen, and today I'm joined by Michael Kovacocy. He is the CEO of Gen2 Technologies, Inc. Thank you so much for joining us, Michael.
Thank you, Leyla.
Yeah, how would you describe Gen2 Technologies?
Yes, I would describe Gen2 Technologies as a company which is focused primarily on ensuring the best user experiences across a number of different technology applications, but mainly which revolve around blockchain and visual technologies. So we're talking about the dissemination of videos, the creation of videos, and largely because of our past in the sporting context. But as we move forward, we will look to actually enable other applications.
And you say you're on the front lines of the next phase of the digital age, disrupting the market, offering this superior experience in the sports and social media space that you've been talking about. But I'm curious, when we think about the Napster of yesteryear and we think about music getting pirated and so on and so forth, I mean, the same thing holds for imagery as well. So how do you harness the power of blockchain technology to ensure that something similar doesn't happen in the future?
Sure. It's a great question. And actually, there are two specific points on this. So, number one, in terms of some of the proprietary IP that we do have one stack of IP which relates primarily to the direct registering of video into a native format which is locked down in blockchain. So basically, one can point, click, and capture into an immutable blockchain lockdown format. And this has many, many applications later on down the road. We can actually potentially go out and do deals with camera manufacturers. We can also then incorporate that into some of our specific propositions that we currently are looking at working with. So, for instance, if we look right now, we have a 5% stake in a company called Colosseum Cards. In a company called NFT Sports. NFT Sports has a proposition, Colosseum Cards, which in essence is a competitor to Sorare. So Sorare has done phenomenally well in the area of digital playing cards. So, we're talking about basically like Topps cards, we're talking about Panini cards, but in a new digital context. And, I would say it's like Panini or Topps cards done better. And Sorare has done a wonderful job of actually bringing attention to this sector and to this area. And Colosseum Cards is actually looking at that space. And, we believe that eventually Colosseum Cards will do what Sorare does, but Colosseum Cards will have its own unique twist. But in essence, the technology that's being utilized is it's NFTs. NFTs basically are, what we can look at is it's a disruptive technology. So there is some gimmicky aspect to it oftentimes, but we think that the kernel, the core of NFTs is actually something revolutionary in that it allows, for the first time, content creators and image rights holders to have control of downstream revenues with regards to the content that's created. So let's take, for instance, actually stepping away a bit from Colosseum Cards and sports NFTs, etc. Let's take a Banksy. Many artworks have been, let's say, sold at auction, let's say through Sotheby's, and have been sold in NFT form. And many people ask why. Well, I can say that it's very simple. One of the reasons, a key reason, is that when an artwork used to be sold, then the artist, content creator, would actually take revenue from the first sale. But then afterwards, when the piece of art exchanged hands through third parties, the artist, the content creator, took nothing. Well, actually, with NFTs, it's possible to create a smart contract, and then when the content trades hands later on downstream, the smart contract will kick in, and then the content creator and those who are involved with the creation of the content originally. So we're talking about image rights holders, let's say in the context of in the context of NFT Sports, with Colosseum Cards, or with the new Top Stars proposition that is coming out now from NFT Sports. The original creators of the NFTs can actually share in the downstream transactional revenue that comes from these pieces of content. So, we think that this is something revolutionary. We don't think that particular aspect is definitely not gimmicky. and we believe that it will actually disrupt the whole area of sports. We can go in a number of different directions with this, but we can talk about advertising, about media content providers, etc. But this is going to have some long-term impact, and I would actually personally, I would look at this as almost the next evolution of the internet. So, basically, before, the internet allowed one party to reach out to many, but now what's happening is it allows one party to reach out to many, and then to ensure the downstream revenues that come from the creativity of a content creator can actually be brought back, and that content creator can share in basically in infinity, so to speak. As long as the blockchain that supports it is there, they will actually take profit from whatever they've created.
So let's say the next Vincent van Gogh or the next Pablo Picasso creates this piece of art. Let's just take that as an example. Is this a technology that can only be applied for something that is new going forward, or is this something that can be applied to work that currently exists? Because if someone were to come across a work of art that they wanted to, say, use on a banner for their business or something like that, isn't there usually a way of tracing down copyright violations? Would this then get in the way and disrupt it, so to speak, so that that person is forced to then pay the royalty?
The question about copyright violations, about infringement, basically infringement of intellectual property rights. I mean, this is something that obviously has been an open question for some time. So, in the context of an international context, there's always been a question about some emerging economies using the IP of mature economies and companies in mature economies, and then actually infringing upon and then not being liable, taking benefit, but not actually paying their due royalties. What I would say is that blockchain and blockchain technologies actually allow for the creation of systems, and we do have technology in this area that we will be looking to develop, but allow for the development of platforms and systems where the authenticity and the provenance of a piece of content, whether it be art, whether it be a digital file, whatever it may be, can be locked down and basically is provable, so to speak, through uncontestable mathematical logic and mathematical algorithms. So you can't cheat. I mean, one can come up with some examples, but you really can't cheat the blockchain. So it does lock things down. It does make for a system in which when one buys something that has been locked down, one can actually be assured that it is the real thing. It is the original. And so this is one of the key aspects of blockchain technology, of NFTs, that we really like. Because we do think that there is a huge problem in terms of, if one looks at simply what's happening on social media, fake videos, a number of different things. I mean, even in the art world is a great example. One of the largest problems with art is art where the provenance is not known or is actually shown later to be the artwork is forged, it's fake. When one actually creates something and locks it down into blockchain, one can assure that it's not fake. So we believe that there is a strong use case here, and with regard to that use case, it then allows for a user experience which we think is superior. Because when one wants to enjoy something, whatever the content that's been created, one wants to enjoy the fact that one owns something that's unique and special. So we believe that this technology is a cornerstone to that user experience.
And of course, we've been mentioning the word blockchain, and that's something that isn't on everyone's lips as yet, but certainly will be in the months and years to come as it becomes more and more and more prominent in the market. And maybe just as an abstract, if you can explain exactly what blockchain technology is.
I'll take this from a different angle. And one can actually create a system, a computer system, so to speak, where it is possible through computational power to prove that various transactions are real, that someone who owns a specific asset, that they are the sole owner of that asset. So in the case of, let's say, Bitcoin, that the money is not double spent. So originally, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies came from trying to solve the economic problem of double spending. So where I have a dollar or let's say a crypto dollar, and it's been spent twice. No, everybody wants to know that they hold something that is unique, that is scarce, and cryptocurrencies revolve around the idea that the computational power and the algorithms are shared amongst the distributed community. So instead of one person or one entity going out and building a computer system that can actually manage all transactions and guarantee, so to speak, or verify that anything is unique, this is actually something that's shared. So there are a group of individuals out there who will actually, in essence, give processing power. They will process on the network. They will then verify transactions, and they will, in essence, serve as the, so to speak, the invisible hand together, the invisible hand that ensures that all is quote unquote kosher on the network. Now, in exchange for this, they are generally given tokens, oftentimes. And so what will happen is this then develops an ecosystem, and there are a number of different ways that this actually manifests itself. So in the case of, let's look at underpinning the Colosseum Cards proposition. Colosseum Cards will be using Wax, and Wax is a fantastic blockchain for actually anything dealing with games, etc. So they have their own unique ecosystem, so to speak. And there are other chains which are actually particularly good for other applications. So, one will look at, for instance, Ethereum. We will be working with Ethereum, but, Ethereum is great because of the ability to do smart contracts on Ethereum. And, I've spoken about that a bit earlier, but smart contracts are a fantastic way to ensure that later on, as certain targets, milestones, etc. are hit, that there are automatic and indisputable payments that are made back, or other activities that are done which are triggered and which no one can go in afterwards and, so to speak, undo. So it's a way to make sure that no one is cheating. So blockchain, in a way, is for the user. It's a way to make sure that no one is cheating. It's a way to make sure that things are fairly done. It's a way to make sure that value is, especially in a value is there, that there is scarcity, that one knows what the scarcity is. Everything is on the chain, and we could go on and on about this, but it does offer a tremendous amount of utility to the user. And we intend, as we are focused on users and their user experiences as opposed to technology for technology's sake, we are big believers in blockchain.
Fascinating. So for Gen2 Technologies, what's next? What's happening during the rest of 2021? What is on the horizon for 2022?
We actually have a cameras business. With this cameras business, there is a significant element that is intertwined into blockchain. So we've discussed that, NFTs, etc. But we do have some highly performant cameras which can actually be melded and put into currently existing systems which are totally independent of blockchain. So a great example would be linear broadcasters of sports. We are currently building out our prototypes. We have 2 prototypes for an iris camera. Our iris camera is basically, they are body-worn cameras. One can think a bit of GoPro, except GoPro with more specs and more suited for, I would say, higher demand applications. But our camera, so for instance, we have a camera which is an Iris Extreme, and the other one is Iris Recreational. Iris Recreational, we will be applying that camera towards the markets of, let's say, golf, professional golf. So golfers would be wearing this, and they would be wearing this small camera on their body, and it would be piping back images to, say, the truck, which would then be broadcasting it out to the multitude of people who are watching it on TV. We also have there a flagstick camera, and the flagstick camera will go onto the flagstick, and then we'll show the ball as it moves around, people moving about on the golf course, and we'll offer new unique angles which just increase the engagement of users with that game. Now, that particular camera can be then used, the recreational camera is for low intensity sports. So that can be used for golf, it can be used for walking, for jogging, that type of thing. Then we have Iris Extreme. Iris Extreme, the way we are designing it currently is we are designing for a low form factor, a small form factor, which will be less than, probably it's coming in less than 3/4 of an inch. And we are actually trying to adjust it so that it can actually be affixed below the actual shields that are worn on jerseys. So let's say someone goes out and buys a Real Madrid jersey, and we are not working with Real Madrid, but just for an example, if someone were to buy a Real Madrid jersey, or a Real Madrid player would actually put their jersey on, the idea would be that the camera could actually slip in under and then could offer a perspective from the first person of that player. And then those who are out there and watching, they could actually watch either on TV, or later on they could use OTT platforms. They could actually catch up. They could then look and search on the video, etc. Now, with regards to that, we are actually currently in discussions on both the Iris Extreme and then the Iris Recreational, and also the flagstick camera. We are in discussions on both of them for full-fledged pilots. We currently are in the last stages of negotiating a pilot. There will first be a demo in a live golfing event, and then afterwards we are looking to hopefully do a pilot in a very large event early next year. On the extreme side, on Iris Extreme, we are actually looking to do one large league in Europe across a number of teams. And then the idea would be to use that as a showcase from which to actually sell it to other leagues.
That is incredible. I think you're going to garner more golf players and more soccer players as a result, or football, I should say. This is fascinating technology. Michael Kovacocy, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. And for anybody who wants any more information, please go to our website, spotlightgrowth.com. That's going to do it for us on this episode of Spotlight Growth. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.